KP in the news.
Peace. Here we go again, folks. We're getting ready to get busy today. I got to get back on track because I kind of got off track there a little bit for Black History Month. So I'm going to get back on track here today. And I have a story that I ran up on. And it's a pretty good story about well, let me just get started with it. So this is Sarah Rector, an 11-year-old who became the richest black girl in America in 1913. And this story here is going to show about what I've been talking about lately about about our ancestry and about how we're connected, and about the black Indians in the United States. And this is a different story because it shows how African Americans, people from the dark African Indian descent, at one point were actually slaves of Indians, the so-called redskin Indians, as well as the slaves of the Europeans. So let me get started with the story. It says, born as the daughter of freedmen in 1902, Sarah Rector rose from humble beginnings to reportedly becoming one of the wealthiest black girl in the nation at the age of 11. Rector and her family were African American members of the Muscogee Creek Nation who lived in a modest cabin in a predominantly black town of Taft, Oklahoma, which at the time was considered Indian territory. Following the Civil War, Rector's parents, who were formerly enslaved by the Creek tribe members, were entitled to land allotments under the Dawes Allotment Act of 1887. As a result, hundreds of black children or Creek freedmen minors were each granted 160 acres of land as Indian territory integrated with Oklahoma territory to form the state of Oklahoma in 1907. While lands granted to former slaves were usually rocky and infertile, Rector's allotment of the Creek Indian Nation was located in the middle of the Glen Pool oil field and was initially valued at $556.50. Strapped for cash, Rector's father leased his daughter's parcel to a major oil company in February 1911 to help him pay for the $30 annual property tax. 2 years later, Rector's fortune took a major turn when independent oil driller B.B. Jones produced a gusher on her land that brought in 2,500 barrels or 150 gallons per day, according to the records. Rector began earning more than $300 a day in 1913. That equates to $17,000 to $8,000 in today's money. She even generated $11,500 in October 1913. Rector's notoriety ballooned just as quickly as her wealth. In September 1913, the Kansas City local Star published the headline, "Millions to a Negro Girl. Sarah Rector, 10-year-old, has income of $300 a day from oil." In 1914, the newspaper wrote, now get this is what the newspaper wrote. This is the title of what the newspaper wrote here. It said, "Oil made a pickaninny rich. Oklahoma girl with $15,000 a month gets many proposals. 4 white men in Germany want to marry the Negro girl that they might share in her fortune." Meanwhile, the Savannah Tribune wrote, "Oil well produces neat income. Negro girls $112,000 a year." Another newspaper dubbed her the richest Negro in the world. Her fame became widespread, and she received numerous requests for loans, money, gifts, and 4 marriage proposals. At the time, a law required Native Americans, black adults, and children who were citizens of Indian Territory with significant property and money who were assigned well-respected white guardians. As a result, Rector's guardianship switched from her parents to a white man named T.J. Porter, concerned with her well-being and her white financial guardian. Early NAACP leaders fought to protect her and her fortune. So, by the time she turned 18, Rector was worth an estimated $1 million, or about $11 million in today's money. She also owned stocks and bonds, a boarding house, a bakery, a restaurant in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and 2,000 acres of land. She eventually left Muskogee with her family and moved to Kansas City, Missouri, where she bought a grand home that still stands today. There, the Rectors eventually moved into a home that was a far cry from the weather-whipped two-room cabin in which Sarah began life. This home place was a stately home house. It became known as the Rector Mansion. In 1922, she married Kenneth Kamler, the second African-American to own an auto dealership. The couple had 3 sons and were recognized as royalty, driving expensive cars and entertaining elites like Joe Louis, Duke Ellington, and Count Basie at their home. They divorced in 1930, and Rector remarried in 1934. She lost most of her wealth during the Great Depression, but when she died at age 65 in July 1967, she had only a few working oil wells and real estate holdings. So she wasn't totally broke. She still had some oil and some real estate. And hey, that was a good story there. I stumbled upon that one, and I'm like, wow, we got a rich history here. We got a rich history. So she was a millionaire, barren at 12 years old. She was a millionaire, and that's something good to know. Young black lady, richest black girl in America. All right. So now I got to go on with my feel-good story here. And the feel-good story of the day is 64 white supremacists have been sentenced to a combined total of 820 years imprisonment in what is believed to be the largest collective prosecution of white supremacists in the United States, according to the Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Texas. On Thursday, Gary Cody Jones, 51, was sentenced to 11 years in prison for his role in the drug dealing scheme, marking the 64th and final hearing in the second round of sentencing for a series of kidnapping and drug-related conspiracies involving hate groups. Jones' lawyer did not return a request for statement. Not only do white supremacist gangs endorse repugnant ideologies, they also facilitate a violent drug and gun trade, putting our citizens in grave danger. That's sidebar. That's what I've been telling you people about, the drugs and the guns coming into the community. We don't own any gun factories, and we do not import drugs into this country. So where are they coming from? This is a direct case of showing that there's white supremacist groups are pumping drugs and guns into your community. Wake up. Okay, back to the story here. It says, we were alarmed but not necessarily surprised at the quantities of drugs and firearms recovered during this investigation. The U.S. Attorney's Office is committed to working with law enforcement partners to dismantle these organizations, disrupt their criminal activities, and put their members behind bars. Other defendants were charged with offenses ranging from threats to violent assaults. In one instance, a suspected neo-Nazi had attempted to run over officers during his arrest. Prosecutors were announced in Cox's office in May in a singular effort to pursue cases against dozens of suspected white supremacist gang members and their affiliates. The defendants were accused of belonging to organizations such as the Aryan Brotherhood and Dirty White Boys, among others. According to federal prosecutors, the defendants routinely distributed methamphetamine and other narcotics, occasionally using firearms to safeguard their dealings, which is also a crime. Overall, the defendants trafficked more than 1,600 kilos of meth, 59 firearms, and other drugs during the cocaine and heroin over a 3-year period, beginning back in 2015. The defendants also had a combined 587 convictions for prior crimes before their prosecutions in this case. So they've been letting them go. They've been letting them off. They had a combined 587 convictions, and they were still out on the streets. White supremacy and related forms of hate have become a pronounced public policy concern over the last several years. According to the Uniform Crime Reporting Statistics published annually by the FBI in 2018, saw the number of violent hate crimes rise to its highest level in 16 years. Let's see. Trump got elected in 2016. This article came out in 2018, which was 2 years after he got elected. So the majority of these hate crimes in America are perpetuated based on racial incidents. Of those incidents, almost half are directed toward African Americans. In recognition of the growing tide of white supremacy, federal FBI Director Christopher Wray told Congress early in February that this agency believes racially motivated extremist groups pose a risk to the public that is on the same footing as the risk posed by foreign actors such as ISIS. So these are homegrown terrorists. These people are terrorists. And you can't sweep it under the rug. You can't go under the rug with it. You just can't do it. So hey, it is what it is. And so we got to do what we got to do here to try to get this DC dunce out of office, because having this guy stay in office is just gonna take us all the way down in the toilet, all the way down. So we gotta lift ourselves up, get rid of the DC dunce, get registered to vote. Get out there and vote, people. Do what you gotta do.
KP in the news.